I would like to discuss very briefly the Montandon Personae in early 1900s Swiss literature. Now, the Montandon family can be said to have captured the eye of the public in Neuchâtel at this time. This testimony is evidenced by the family's portrayal in a series of novels and stories by the canton's most celebrated authors, addressing the legacy of the family in watchmaking. At the same time, we note Frederick Jules Montandon's own observations of the family's ascendancy alongside the other famous watchmakers of the 19th century. Quote, Comme artisans et inventeurs, les Montandons sont bien loin d'avoir acquis le mérite et la renommée des Jacques Dreux, des Jean-Richard ou des Berthaud. Nous pouvons cependant mentionner David-Henri Montandon Blaise-Léon, qui fonde au Locle l'une des meilleures maisons d'horlogerie du pays. Now this is from Les Montandon, 1913, by Frederick J. Montandon and Léon Montandon. This view, a nostalgic reflection of the past centuries, certainly observed the proximity and rise of this maison d'horlogerie here Montandon refers Locle is specifically referenced. Now, this image focuses our gaze on the glories of the rise of the Montandon name during the earliest age in the development of haute horlogerie neuchâteloise. That voice was followed by a chorus of other Neuchâtel writers who summoned this proud spirit in the host of their many novels. Among these authors, we may count both cantonal legends, Louis Favre and Oscar Huguenin. Abraham Louis Favre Guillarmont, who lived from 1822 to 1904, was a professeur, naturaliste, historien, écrivain, archéologue, dessinateur et aquarelliste. And he is well known for his novel Jean des Paniers, published in 1910. One of his novel's heroes is Henri Montandon, capitaine de la Grande Traque au Loup. Now, at the beginning of the 19th century, Victor Montandon Lalonde of Locle was well known as a hunter emeritus, and across Neuchâtel, his son Charles Auguste Montandon, who lived from 1819 to 1915, was revered as a wolf hunter of the like kind, and he was the last person to have killed a wolf in the canton. And there can be little doubt that this figure, or indeed the entire family, was associated with this Montagnard way of life. Interestingly, several of Charles August's brothers, Henry Montandon Lalonde, 1830 to 1918, was a native of Les Verrières, just as the character of the same name in Favre's novel, and another brother, Louis Montandon Grosclaude, 1817 to 1870, of Labrevine. Both of these other brothers were watchmakers. Louis Favre was no small force in cultural institutions for his day. He took part in the foundation of Neuchâtel's Museum of Natural History, and later in 1864 he was a founding member of the Musée Neuchâtelois. In addition to these feats, we should take an especial note of his sister Augustine Favre, who married Henri Ladame. Now, this same Ladame was the friend of the Blaise-Léon, Ulysse Montandon Sandos, who witnessed the 1830 Paris Revolution from the premises of Montandon Frères Paris, store and residence on Rue de Grenelle Saint-Honoré. Ulysses' eyewitness to these events were a mere block away from the Louvre Palace, at the epicenter of the massacre, as retold by Ladame to Swiss poet, teacher, historian, and author Juste Daniel Olivier. Thus, Louis Favre must have been closely connected, or at least intimately familiar, with those of the founders of Montandon Frères Paris and Locle. Another great writer from La Sagne in Neuchâtel, Oscar Huguenin Tenet, who lived from 1842 to 1903, apprenti horloger, instituteur autodidacte à Bulle, professeur de français et de dessin, auteur et illustrateur de recueils et de croquis de cartes postales illustrées. He extrapolated character themes based on people known to him and was a great romantic storyteller. And he himself apprenticed in watchmaking and was the son of a watchmaker from 1860 to 1871. The self-taught teacher taught at Bull at this period. However, his novels and books were written from 1885 to 1903. And in two of these, Constant from 1900 and Nos Vieux Gens, also 1900, Huguenin portrayed a Henri Montandon in the former, and in the latter, the young and vibrant Guillaume Montandon, monteur de boîte, with references to his father Abraham Montandon. These last characters from the story La Guerre Civile, perhaps a mixture of reality based on known figures or a motif on personalities familiar to the author, embellish the legacy of that illustrious cantonal watchmaking tradition in the color of a recognized watchmaking name. And one can think of no higher accolade than these literary iterations of this nostalgic memory. It will be recalled the very earliest of Montandon watchmakers, also specialized in casemaking, is an Abraham Montandon of Locla, circa 1730s. The turn of the 20th century era also sees in non-fictional literature the extensive horological study of Alfred Chapuis in collaboration with Léon Montandon, Histoire de la pendulerie Neuchâtelois of 1917. The authors bring to light the earliest history of the mechanical arts of the canton's clockmakers, in which we find mention of the most reputable names in Montandon horology from this early dawn in Swiss horology. This crystallization or reintroduction of the clockmakers of old reinforces the watchmaking association with the Montandon name here onto the Swiss psyche, which we witness so liberally celebrated in this period's literary boom.